Hi guys, so today we're just setting up a new wormery here in our garden. So wormery is the best way to supercharge your soil and build some serious fertiliser that's absolutely free. So we'll be getting a lot of compost tea from the wormery. In turn, the worms will be eating all our leftovers, and we might be able to source some other leftovers from maybe some cafes around the place, or something like that. And then at the end, after about 3 months, we'll get massive amounts of lovely worms castings in the end of our worm farm. So just looking here now, what we have is we have an old bathtub that we repurposed. So we just have it up on a few pallets here, and I'm going to use the original drain hole, and I'm going to put this, I have it raised up so I can put this tub under the original drain hole here, and the excess water and worm juice will flow straight down into this, and that can be used then diluted probably 20 to 1. So that can be diluted 20 to 1 to feed around my vegetables in the garden. So it's already on contour, it's falling naturally to the end, and I just put the level on it, but I need to just put a little bit of a filter so this thing doesn't get clogged up and the worms don't drown. So I just have here some fencing that I was using for my chicken run, and I had a few fruit bags that I wrapped. I'm just going to put this over the drain hole. I already have another piece inside it, and I'm just going to put a block on top of that to keep it in place. Now, so that's it. Now we're going to start putting in the bedding and filling it with worms. So now we're adding the bedding. Here we've got a lot of horse manure. Either horse manure or cow manure are the best bet for the worm farm, because they're both made out of grass and they can be used fresh. If you want to use chicken manure or sheep manure or pig manure, you're better off waiting till they're broken down a bit older. So this is the last of it now. If you want to have a look there, Yvonne. So we just have the bedding filled up about a third of the way. And next, now we're going to add our worms. So our worms, this was a pile of, let me just have a look. This was a pile of cow manure, so it's been sitting there about 12 or 18 months in a friend's place, and it's teeming with red wrigglers, so it's full up with them. It's well broken down. Of course, they're probably hiding there now from the camera, but there are thousands of them in there. It's been sitting in my van overnight, but there's thousands of them in there. So I'm going to add a layer again, about a third of this, and then the top layer is just going to be all my food scraps. We'll come back to that now in a minute, yeah, I'm just going to add the rest of this. So now that the bed is full with worms, the last thing to do, second last thing to do is to feed the worms. So like they can eat like a kilo of worms, like will eat their body weight, like a worm will eat their body weight. So if you have a kilo of worms, that's a kilo of food a day that they will eat. So obviously if you have 10 kilos of worms, they're going to eat 10 kilos of food, which I don't know, I suspect that there'll be roughly about 1.5 kilos there now in my bath at the moment. So they'll eat nearly any organic matter. They're not that partial to onions or to citrus, but other than that, pretty much anything. And it doesn't just have to be house scraps, kitchen scraps either. Any organic matter, any plants, any grasses, anything like that will do. Like I've got a few leaves and stems off the beetroots we had for dinner last night, and what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to add a load of leaves. So the next part now as well is optional. So what I have here now, I have this biochar that I made as well. So I'm just going to add this in, and the worms will in fact break this down as well, and this will just create a better quality worm casting. At the end of it, it will trap a lot of nutrients in, so I'm just going to throw that in. Don't need to be too neat with it. And the last optional thing that I'm going to do, I've got some beneficial bacteria that I made here in this jar. I'm going to put a cup of that in as well, just to increase the bacteria life inside the worm farm and let it multiply. So when I do that as well, that's just going to have this worm farm teeming with beneficial bacteria. Like the gut of the worm is packed with different types of aerobic beneficial bacteria as well. So this is just going to be amazing fertilizer. So them 2 steps are optional, and what's not optional is to feed the worms. So just make sure you feed them, and you'll actually see when you look back, you'll see over the plastic, get that out. You'll see when you look back, like every day or two, whether how much they're eating. So it's easy enough to gauge what they're eating and what they're not. And that's about it. All I have to do now is water the worm farm. I don't really have to worry too much about overwatering the worm farm, because that drain hole in the end, it will drain out. Sky absolutely loves the hose, so I can just pour in the water, get it nice and wet and soppy and soaking wet, because worms love that. One thing they don't like is light, so I'll be covering this over at the end with this sheet here I have in the back. I'm using this one at the back here now. It's roofing felt, so the water doesn't get through it. Most people, like, you can use whatever, old carpet, newspaper, whatever, like, if you're not too worried about the rain getting through it. I know there's a good drain in it, but I like to keep on top of how much water is going in. So I cover that over, keep the sunlight off them. And that's it from the worm farm. So I'll give you a video there in a couple of weeks. About 3 months this will be ready to harvest from worm castings, and whatever worms are inside this will probably be after doubling. So if there's 1 kilo, you'll end up with 2 kilos of worms. So that's it. Thanks guys, I'll see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like and do all that other good stuff. See you later, bye.
Bye. Cute guy.